I have a confession to make. After 2 years of doing this booktube thing, I still get nervous before every video because nobody knows this. I'm shy. Hello Booktube, it's Marilyn MM, also known as the Baby Boomer Booktuber. And I wasn't kidding when I said I was shy. I've been doing this for 2 years almost. I started on my 70th birthday, and I'll be 72 in August. Anyway, I wanted to tell you a story about when I was in 6th grade. I had a crush on a boy who was very outgoing. And we were sitting in the back of the room next to each other for 2 years. Okay, fast forward 50 years, 60 years, well, 50 something years. And we reconnected on one of the social media apps. And he says to me, he's trying to remember, he couldn't remember who I was. And I'm telling him, don't you remember this and don't you remember that? And finally he said, are you the shy girl, kind of blondish? And we sat together for 2 years, you know, but I was very shy, and I still am. But I used to also love to act and sing, so I tried to hide that. And when I first started Booktube, I tried to put on that persona that I put on for, you know, when I was acting. And it worked for a while, but I didn't feel like that was my true authentic self. So now I'm nervous again because this is me. Not that that wasn't me, like I said before. That was one of the people that I was, the performing one. But I still get nervous before I film. So I just wanted to tell you that was my confession. And last time I was doing what cheers me up. So when I get nervous or, you know, shy, I like to have things to cheer me up. And I think that a part of my shyness, especially on Booktube, is that you see a lot of booktubers and they're really into makeup and looking good, and here I am, you know, an old broad. So I feel less than. So then I pick up my book, which is called Unworthy, because a lot of feelings of shyness come from lack of self-worth. And though I've built up my self-worth, I love to read this book, Unworthy, by Anneli Rufus, because she has a lot of tips on how to, the 10 hidden self-esteem booby traps, how to raise your self-esteem. And no matter how old I get, I always, you know, like to read books that raise my self-esteem. Another thing that's cheering me up right now, not to go back into the other video, is what I forgot to tell you about last time. We went to Provence, my daughter and I picked up this, they're known for lavender fields that are only blooming in August. And we weren't there in August, but they still sell lavender. And whenever I smell this smell of lavender, I feel better. And it makes me feel like I can do anything. I don't know what lavender does, but it's supposed to calm you down. So they sell these and they say that it lasts forever. I don't know if it's true, but that you just, you know, you just kind of press it when it stops smelling, and then it just smells wonderful again. Anyway, that's something that's cheering me up when I feel too shy about coming on. But anyway, this video is my June TBR. So let's get started. For a classic, I'm doing a buddy read with Jack from Spreadbookjoy and Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures. And she's a Turkish booktuber. And we're going to read Howard's End by EM Forster. I won't talk too much about this because I already talked about it in my last video. And it's a masterpiece. Howard's End is the name of This is Edwardian, a vibrant portrait of life in Edwardian England and the wonderful characters who inhabit the charming old country homes. And Howard's End is the name of one of those country homes. And we're starting this very soon. And in fact, Berna and I read the first chapter, and I'm going to check in with her. And Jack is going to come in the week after next. And I love these two booktubers, so I'll have their information down in the show notes. Okay, another book that I could say I read already in one go is Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. So I say it's on my June TBR, but I read it in one go, and I won't talk about it here. I'll wait until the wrap-up. In fact, I'm going to do my May and June wrap-up together because I was away for most of May and the end of April, so I didn't read too much. So I'll just kind of put it at the end. But this was a very good book. I won't tell you how many stars I gave it or anything. And I was very happy that Lindy from Lindy's Magpie Reads is going to buddy read Alberta and Freedom with me. I just loved, it was one of my top 10 books of the year last year, Alberta and Jacob. And now we're going to go into, I think this is going to be my favorite, I just feel it, Alberta and Freedom. And she goes to Paris, so, you know, but not so much like all of the, you know, Hemingways and the, you know, all of the famous people who went to Paris and just, you know, they were their authentic selves. I think she had a less successful time, which is kind of new and kind of something that I'd like to read about. I mean, we all can't be, you know, famous from the start. And she was a writer, and she did get what I read about it so far. I mean, I haven't read the book yet, but what I read about the book, and this is an this is 3 autobiographical novels that she wrote: Alberta and Jacob, Alberta and Freedom, and Alberta Alone. And they were just translated from the Norwegian, Oslo, Norway. And she wrote this unhappy childhood. Then she went to Paris. It wasn't totally successful, and it wasn't translated until I think it was after her death, or the 1960s. She was discovered by the the English-speaking world, and she died in 1974. So she became famous while she was still alive. But anyway, I'm looking forward to reading this. Then, thanks to, so that's the end of my buddy reads for the month. And I don't really do many buddy reads in the month, so I'm very excited about that. And then Sarah of Hardcover Hearts. And if you haven't watched her channel, she's delightful. She speaks French and Italian and very smart. And I got a book from her, and it's Anita Brookner, The Rules of Engagement. And I've never read Anita Brookner. I've never heard of her. She was a famous I don't think she was art historian, but she also wrote books, of course. And it says, to read Brookner is to be reminded of fiction's potential to stun, with full complex characters in a richly imagined world, as she draws on her insights into human nature to explore the strained yet enduring friendship of two women. So what is this about? Elizabeth and Betsy have known each other since they were schoolgirls. When they meet again later in life, one is safely married and the other most unsafely partnered. Together they discover that despite their different lives, they still have in common the capacity for making dangerous choices. I love that blurb, and I can't believe I've never heard of Anita Brookner. So thank you, Sarah, for introducing me to her. I think also that Britta Bowler did a whole spotlight on her, but that's before I joined BookTube. But I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy this. But it's not easy reading. I'm thinking, but I'm still going to read it. So that's going on my June TBR. Rules of engagement. Okay, then I'm still going to read, and I'm not going to talk about it, Lolly Willowes by Sylvia Townsend Warner. And she's an early feminist, and this has some magic in it, so witchcraft. She wants to get away from her family and practice witchcraft. So that's interesting. I've never read a book like that before. And then I took out of the library, and I want to read this month, The Shadows of Berlin. And the minute I read the blurb, a captivating novel of a Berlin girl on the run from the guilt of her past and the boy from Brooklyn, hello, who loves her. And it's 1955 in New York City, the city of instant coffee, bagels at Katz's Deli, and I've been there many a time, and ultra-modern TVs. But in a certain walk-up in Chelsea, the past is as close to the present. Rashka Morgenstern, now Rachel Perlman, came to Manhattan with her Uncle Fritz in a wave of displaced Jews who had managed to survive the horrors of war. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it. It's written by David R. Gillham, and it's a New York Times best-selling author of City of Women that I've never read. There's a lot of talk on BookTube now about men who write about women, and if that's, okay. And I think it is, as long as, you have a story and you get it right and you draw the women characters well. I don't think there's anything wrong with a man writing about women, but I still am more into women writing about women right now at this time of my life. Okay, then, of course, June is Pride Month. And for Pride, I have some books that I borrowed from my daughter, some of them. And now, these are new covers. They were rewritten by Ann Bannon, and one is called I Am a Woman. Well, first comes Odd Girl Out and I Am a Woman. And I think I talked about these a while back. Now, these were written, well, the new covers, they look like Picasso paintings. I don't know why, but they remind me, at least this one does, of a Picasso. Now, they were written in the 50s, and my daughter had to come to me. Now, I'm not going to talk about my daughter's identity because she'll kill me, basically, but she told me that I can say she identifies as pansexual. So she loved these two books, and I looked up Ann Bannon. And Ann Bannon, that was her name was Ann Weldy, and she was better known by her pen name, Ann Bannon. She was American, who from 1957 to 62 wrote 6 lesbian pulp fiction novels known as the Bebo Brinker Chronicles. The book's enduring popularity and impact on lesbian identity has earned her the title Queen of Lesbian Pulp Fiction. Now, in the old covers, we have a lot of semi-nude women, and that's what kind of pulp fiction is. It's, getting your attention and, being a little out there for the time. But when my daughter read them, she told me that they're really quite wholesome in a lot of ways. And they tell about Bebo, who's in college, and she goes to Greenwich Village, or we call it the Village now, to be her authentic self, and which was a lesbian. And what could be more pride than that? So, yeah, she wrote a lot of books, not just these two. My daughter said that the third book she wasn't going to read because it had something about animal abuse in it. So I'm not sure what book that was, but she just told me that. And the next book, and I'm reading these for Queer Litathon, I think that's what it's called. And they have, I'm going to put all the information on the bottom, but there's like a bingo card. And by just, if I did the diagonal, I got bingo. So the prompts were on this bingo card anyway, was a romance. And the romance is also my daughter's, and that I'm going to read. It's called Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrera. And this was pretty popular on BookTube last year. So Quisqueya Burgos left the tropical beaches of the Dominican Republic with a lot to prove. As a pastry chef on the come-up, when she arrives in Scotland, she has one goal: win the holiday baking challenge. Winning is her opportunity to prove to her family, her former boss, and most importantly herself, she can make it in the culinary world. Quisqueya will stop at nothing to win. That is, if she can keep her eyes on the prize and off her infuriating teammates' perfect lips. Sully Morales, home cooking hustler and self-proclaimed baking brujita, which means witch in Spanish, lands in Scotland on a quest to find her purpose after spending years as her family's caregiver. But now with her home life back on track, it's time for Sully to get reacquainted with her greatest love, baking. Winning the holiday baking challenge is a no-brainer if she can convince her grumpy AF baking partner that they make a great team, both in and out of the kitchen. So, yeah, I love this cover. I really do. And this says, Entertainment Weekly said it's hotter than a roaring holiday fire. We wish all Christmas snacks were this delicious. So I like that it's about two Latinx girls. And you can say you kind of work into Caribathon a little bit from the Dominican Republic. So I'm looking forward to reading this. My daughter loved it. So then I have a nonfiction, which was also on the Queer Litathon. And of course it's on my Kindle, and my Kindle just said, wanted to end for me. But it's a book that Kevvie from Cestkevvie recommended to me, and even though I read it already, it was almost a 400 and something page book. It's called This Time for Me by Alexandra Billings, and it's her memoir. And this is too small, so I'm going to have it over here, the cover anyway. And it's about the amazing story of trans woman who started out life as Scott and went through a very, very, very heartbreaking but amazing journey to Alexandra. And if you watch the movie or the TV Amazon show Transparent, she had a part in that, and she was a teacher. She became a teacher, and so many wonderful things. She overcame so many obstacles to get to where she is right now. So thank you, Kevvie, for this wonderful book. I couldn't stop reading it. I will talk about it more on the wrap-up, but I wanted to, I did read it in June over the course of like 3 days, and though it wasn't a perfectly written book, I learned so much just reading it, and about trannies, about living in your your body, the one that you feel right in. I didn't know anything about this, so I was very happy to learn, because as old as you get, you can still learn about things and accept things. You don't have to be stuck in in your old ways. So then I have another book, well, I talked about. So those are the books I'm going to read, and I might pick some more for Pride Month, but those are the ones I was going to read for Pride Month, unless I get some more books. I'm also reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I'm reading it this is a reread for me. I think it's my third reread, but it's in the 75th anniversary. So I'm reading this slowly for June. I have 2 fun books that I'm going to read for June as well, just for me. And one of them is a book that I read in the 80s, and I remember sitting with my children in the back of the city bus, because that's how we rolled. I don't drive, and I never drove. So I remember laughing and people looking at me like I was, weird, but it was so funny. And I had a chance to buy it again. It's called Raging Hormones, the unofficial PMS survival guide. And we have Jane Crawford with an axe. And it said, finally, the book for you and your cranky friends, confused boyfriends, bewildered husbands, bewildered ex-husband. And I remember it being very funny, and I wanted to see if it would make me laugh again, or maybe it won't, because I don't have PMS anymore. And also I'm reading on my Kindle, and I've been reading a lot on my Kindle lately, and this is Patricia Wentworth's In the Balance. And I read the first chapter already, and it's really good. I mean, it's a Miss Silver mystery, and it's about, Miss Silver was an ex-governess, and she's sort of like a Victorian person. She dresses Victorian, but it's later than the Victorian period. And people, sort of like Miss Marple, people underestimate her. So this book is about, from what I gathered, Miss Silver went on vacation, a summer vacation, and she's coming home in a train, and she meets this woman who jumps in and is going to tell her a story about something terrible that's happening in her. It's going to be a mystery. And I don't know if you can see this, but it has the train where she meets. This woman, she climbs in the train at the last minute, and of course she climbs in Miss Silver's carriage. So and of course Miss Silver is probably going to help her. Anyway, if you're still with me, thank you for watching this far. Yes, my June TBR is quite big this month, not only because of Pride and Queer Litathon and my buddy reads, but because I came back from vacation and got the post-vacation blues. And what is going to make me happy? Reading, of course. And of course my dog Jasmine, spending time with her and my family. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you're new. It's so weird because every day, like, I'm getting a subscriber or 2, and then I look the next day and I lost them. Come back to me. What did I do wrong? Just kidding. Anyway, please subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear your comments, and I answer everyone's comments. I watch a lot of BookTube. That's sort of what I do with my free time. I've met so many wonderful people, and I love to just watch their videos and comment and just be part of the community. That's, I'm coming up to my 2 years now, and I think that's the best thing that's happened in my life for a long time, because I don't really have a lot of friends. So join me, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.